I also see opportunity in that. I mean, the danger is that if they do wind up trying to do it, let's say that even despite them seeming to be an expert in it for the purpose of steering them back to what they've always known, if they happen upon an employer that says yes to the non-traditional anyway, and then they do it poorly because it's their first time or they don't really know what they're doing or whatever the case may be, that's a bad mark on the mission of trying to fix the healthcare system. But the flip side to that is that that same reverberation is also making it seem less scary to employers.
Every employee benefits broker and industry partner dreams of achieving great things. The bad news is that success doesn't come easy. The good news is that you don't have to do it alone. Welcome to the Benefits Sales Pro Show. I am your host, Ryan James Miller, and my goal is to engage industry professionals who have found success and are willing to share it with others. So give us 15 minutes and hear how today's guest has achieved great things so you can too. All right, what up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the show. I am so excited today because I have a dear friend with me. I love the fact that you can only hear these if you're watching these. And so you see David Contorno's wonderful face right there. David is one of the founders of ePowered Benefits. He is a staple in the benefits world. If you don't know him and you're watching this right now, I don't know what your problem is, but by the end of this, you're going to want to reach out to him and I'll make sure that I connect you to him. But for now, David, what's up, man? Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me, Ryan. Always good to hang out with you for a little bit.
So you are a master of sales, I'll say, in the industry. You've done a wonderful job of growing multiple books of business, had some starts and stops by choice along the way, and you've just continued to be successful. So this is going to be a good conversation pointed right in that direction. So like right out of the gate, if you were to kind of give a quick lay of the land for how you see the sales environment in the benefits world, what would your kind of description be?
I mean, I think employers are desperate for a different path. And so how do you create a different path? I've been doing health insurance for a really long time, and I thought we were at the breaking point a couple of decades ago, but I really think that we're seeing that now. And as a matter of fact, I'm seeing it in the fact that we only deal in non-traditional plans. The appetite, the support of it is just growing from all facets, from other brokers and consultants, from partners and vendors, and then from employers as well, and even employees too.
Okay, so that leads me. I try not to get into too many follow-up questions because we could talk for hours, but I do want to follow that with, so obviously you are at the forefront of so much innovation and disruption in the right ways. It is the narrative that's being talked about by so many of your colleagues out there. But do you also see danger in the fact that there is a need for the employers to do something drastically different? There is a need for the producer, the agency owner to bring these different solutions, but it seems to be creating some problems as well because all of your colleagues, whether they are equal or not, are speaking the same language, but either not able to or not willing to do the same thing. Do you see danger in that?
I do, but I also see opportunity in that. I mean, the danger is that if they do wind up trying to do it, let's say that even despite them seeming to be an expert in it for the purpose of steering them back to what they've always known, if they happen upon an employer that says yes to the non-traditional anyway, and then they do it poorly because it's their first time or they don't really know what they're doing or whatever the case may be, that's a bad mark on the mission of trying to fix the healthcare system. But the flip side to that is that that same reverberation is also making it seem less scary to employers. I did a kind of anecdotal analysis on the close ratios that we have. And what's really interesting is our close ratios are substantially higher when one or more other brokers that the employer is talking to is talking about these things versus the other broker or brokers only talking buka. Because what happens when they're speaking about some of these non-traditional things is it makes them seem less scary, these ideas. And then our organization and our people and our history and the amount of publicity we've gotten makes us pretty the natural expert in doing it. So it helps and it hurts. It really depends on the situation.
So it kind of like maybe just pointedly, I hear you saying that them talking about it validates the fact that it is available, possible, but where you're able to come in and other people that are maybe running at the same pace you are, is you guys are actually able to deliver on it. So they've kind of validated the idea, but you actually are able to deliver. Okay, that makes sense. And I think that's super helpful for people to hear, because they want to be careful not to step into something that they can't do. But at the same time, actually, I'll get to this part at the end because I want to talk about some partnership here. So I'm going to save that piece. Okay, so what is the biggest sales challenge you have personally faced in your career, and how have you overcome it?
The biggest challenge, and I still face it every day, has been coming into a situation where lots of people in the same position as me have promised things that haven't come to fruition. And so it's this legacy of put in an HMO, that'll save you money. Put in a wellness program, that'll save you money. Put in an HSA, that'll save you money. And none of those things have worked to save money. And so how do I come in and say, okay, but I really have something that really works? Because my data that I show to show them it works is real data, whereas it's easy for large carriers or large brokerage houses to bring in nice marketing pieces that make you think this will work without there actually being real data. So that's our biggest challenge, is that legacy of false promises our industry has become accustomed to year after year after year, and overcoming those.
Okay. And so then how are you, like, what do you then do? What is your approach to overcoming that?
Well, the first is to make them uncomfortable with what they're doing today. That's a core part of my approach, call it the challenger sale or whatever you want to call it. But just in my own life, and certainly in my personal life as well, I've come to believe that people don't change until the pain of staying the same outweighs the pain of change. And so the question is, do I wait for them to hit the point at which they literally can't afford the increase? Like literally can't afford, not don't want to afford, not have to pull from other buckets, but literally can't afford the renewal increase? Or do I make them so uncomfortable with what's going on in their plan today that they go, okay, I'm done, I want out. What do I need to do? And I prefer option B, obviously, for a bunch of reasons. So,
yeah. So there, I guess it's, you've been able to exercise a high enough level of professionalism that you can demonstrate to them urgency, maybe before they feel they're at their dire end. But then at the same time, there's other times when you have to exercise a lot of patience to outweight their desire to just kind of sit around and wait till the pain is so bad that they can't help but change.
Yes. Now, luckily, because of our transparent environment, we're able to really point to things. I mean, I'll give you one example. We had a prospect come to us through one of our co-consultants. And that's, another thing we help brokers and consultants not only learn how to do this, but by partnering with us, we bring them that credibility and expertise they need to get those employers to say yes. But through one of our co-consultants, a prospect came to us. There were only like 60 employees, and they were getting a 45% rate increase from United Healthcare. And the large reason for that increase that United claimed was a hemophiliac child that was taking a drug costing $100,000 a month. So the first thing I did was I tried to figure out, if you have a PBM, a pharmacy benefit manager, that's prohibited from doing spread pricing, which is, for those of you that don't know, the large PBMs, their largest source of revenue is just marking the cost of the drug up to the plan. So they charge a higher price to the plan than they pay the pharmacy. The difference is the spread. So the drug that was costing $100,000 a month, according to United, without spread pricing was $22,000 a month. Who doesn't want a 78% discount? But it doesn't stop there. If we source the drug internationally, we can get it for about $13,000. However, the member qualifies for a prescription assistance program. So if we're able to eliminate that drug from the formulary, which with the PBMs who don't do spread pricing, what do they care? United's not going to do it when they're making 80 grand on every single fill, right? But with our PBMs, we remove that from the formulary, and that opens up a manufacturer's program where they're required to send that drug at no cost to the plan, and, by the way, no cost to the member. So there's a $1.2 million drug just wiped off the expense of the employer.
Woo. Okay. So a lot of knowledge here. Okay. So I'm going to leave the last question for the end, because you touched on something that I do want to talk about. This show specifically is not really about highlighting so much about what you are doing in your business as much as I want people to hear how they can apply what somebody else, another expert in the industry, is doing for themselves. But you are in a unique circumstance. You and Emma specifically, you guys are partners in the business, and you guys have built this co-consulting program, which I do want you to just share maybe 2 minutes on, because there are a lot of people in the industry that want to do something different, that want to be innovative, that are very interested in helping employers truly save money and produce better outcomes for their employees. But they're not 100% sure how to do it, or they don't have the resources to do it. Maybe they're a small shop, or maybe they work for a massive firm and that firm wants nothing to do with it. So you guys have created this environment where people can partner with you, or you partner with them. So would you give just kind of like a couple minute little pitch of sorts on what that is, and maybe even how people can engage with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, the way our programs work is the way we're paid, and the way we require that our co-consultants get paid with us, because we share the revenue, is a flat monthly fee from the client with a prohibition on any other revenue. And then with most clients, we have a bonus tied to lowering costs. Let's face it, most of the bonuses from the carriers are tied to increasing costs or increasing business with that carrier, whether or not it's in the interest of the employer or employees or not. And ours works in the opposite direction. So even when we're taking a piece of the revenue because we're partnering, we're typically making them whole, because we almost always make that performance incentive. And it's a wonderful check to get, because it's coming right from the client, and it's typically a small piece of what they save. So if we're getting a $200,000 check, we probably save them $1 million or more. And that's a good, it feels good to get paid in the right way. But essentially, if they're already an established broker consultant where they have some level of account management, they keep the lion's share of the revenue. We take the smaller piece of it. And our goal is to work enough accounts with them to where they feel comfortable doing it on their own. So that could be 2 or 3 for some, it could be 10 or 20 or indefinitely for others. But ultimately, our goal is to get them to the point where they're doing it on their own. And we will stay on the cases with the splits we agreed to for the ones we assisted with. Because if that hemophiliac drug pops up from a new hire 2 years down the road, what are you going to do? Once you've saved your client 50 or 60%, how do you create a bonus structure that is in line with, again, continuing to save them money? But when you can't keep low, at some point, you reach a bottom. And so we help them with all that. We also help with the credibility that we bring in getting employers to even say yes to this non-traditional model. And then our goal is to get that broker or consultant to where they don't need us anymore. And once they're in a position where they don't need us anymore, we say, great, take all you've learned, go do it. We don't want a piece of it. We just have 2 asks. One is, when you learn things as you're now in this new world, if it's something we didn't know, that you teach it back to us. And then when you get to a point where you feel comfortable enough to teach others, that you look to do that as well and kind of pass it on. So those are our 2 asks, generally speaking. So.
And then, and obviously, there is many initial discussions that they're having with you prior to even a deal coming to play, but you're with them on prospecting meetings, presentations, execution of whatever you guys have promised. So it's definitely a journey you're taking together.
Yep. Quarterly financial meetings, renewal meetings. And our goal is to sort of slowly move out and let the co-consultant, instead of being 50-50, let them keep taking more and more center stage. But, and part of that is to get them to the point where they're comfortable enough to do it on their own. I mean, I'm not, I don't have the bandwidth. My firm will never have the bandwidth to make a dent in the country nationally. So this is our way of creating an army of people kind of doing it.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah. Okay. And so, again, for everybody listening, the reason why I wanted David to share that is a couple of things. First of all, we're talking about sales, which is our desire to generate more revenue for our business. And that doesn't always come by tactic and strategy. A lot of times that comes through partnership and collaboration. And I don't think this industry does near good enough of a job of truly doing that. You may share in ideas with each other, but truly stepping into the trenches together together is very, very rare. So that's number one. I think that's a huge takeaway from this discussion with David that you guys need to take to heart. Secondly is, you know me well enough to know that there are a few people that I'm willing to just put my name on the line for. And David and Emma specifically are dear friends. I can say that I love them and care about them so much. And they're not perfect people. I'm sure that there's mistakes that have been made and will be made, but they are going to do everything they can to do right by the client. And that's what I care about more than anything as it relates to doing business, is to do right for the people that we serve. So that's the other reason why it was important to share that with you guys. Okay, so final thing, David, is you've been in this business a long time. What's one piece of advice you would give to yourself when you entered this business, knowing all that you know now? And you can't say that I would have never, ever insured with a Buca to begin with.
No, I couldn't. I learned a lot. And it was very helpful. Obviously, it's just equally as important to learn what not to do as it is to learn what to do. I wish I had learned a lot of these things sooner. I feel like, I'm 45 and I don't know how much time I have left. I started doing this when I was 17 or 18 years old. So I've been doing it for a long time. And the majority of that was doing it in a more traditional manner. So I don't, as much as I talk about how wrong the system is, and now that I see it, I was also a part of it. And I recognize that. But I really believe if you're a broker, if you're a carrier, if you're a doctor, if you're a PBM, you're either a part of the problem or you're fighting against it. Like there's no middle ground in this. And so, it took me a while, but I flipped to where I'm just not going to tolerate it anymore. As a matter of fact, we don't even work with clients that are unwilling to at least do some pretty substantial things to do what's right. And really the person that I'm trying to do what's right for more than anybody is the lowest paid employee that's covered by their health plan. That's the person that I look to. And I say, how do I make this plan palatable, affordable, and with the best outcomes for that person? If I could do it for that person, then it becomes easier to do it up the chain. So I wish I had learned a little bit sooner, but I also think that the experience I had in what not to do is equally, maybe even in some cases, more important than what to do. But I could have done it a little earlier, maybe.
We all could. Well, thanks, man. I mean, I appreciate the time, short, sweet, to the point, but I think there's so much value in people listening to you share what you shared. If you guys are watching this right now, listening to this right now, again, if you've never met David, I'll put his contact information into the show notes. I cannot recommend enough for you to figure out a way to connect with him, get some time with him when he has time available to chat, whether it's co-consulting or just talking war stories with one another. If you have any feedback, needs, concerns related to the show itself, you know where to find me. In the meantime, I want to make sure that you guys know, keep fighting the fight. Keep pushing as hard as you possibly can. Do not settle. It's not good for your clients, and it is absolutely not good for you. Thanks, guys. Talk to you soon.
Thanks so much for checking out this episode of the Benefits Sales Pro Show. Please make sure to like this episode, subscribe to the channel, and share it with your friends. I also invite you to check out thebenefitsalespro.com. We have created a digital platform that includes both live and on-demand video trainings, quick tips, and a multitude of branding, prospecting, and selling resources that are downloadable for you today. So visit www.thebenefitsalespro.com and grab a free copy of the High Performance Sales Playbook while you're there.